All right, welcome everybody. We are on the Manassas National Battlefield Park, and this is Bull Run or Manassas 150. You can choose the name. I know you probably have strong feelings about this. I'm Garry Adelman. That's Andy Poulton behind the camera, and this is Manassas 160. You just saw Andy's nod there. You're with the American Battlefield Trust. We hope you'll share this with your friends so as many people can experience the commemoration of this 160th as possible. Now, I think most of you are aware this is the first major land battle of the Civil War, and this was a turnpike behind me during the Civil War. It's a much busier road now, so we'll do the best we can with all the traffic. But that road, no road, is more important to the battles at Manassas than that one there. But we have to back way up here, okay? And I'll show you where we are and where we're pointing soon enough. But first, this is July of 1861. And in July of 1861, the Union armies had started gathering around Washington, one big Union sort of force. There were no corps at that time. The Confederates didn't have divisions or corps or anything like this. The troops are just gathering, okay? Back up a few months before that, people didn't even know if Abraham Lincoln could possibly be inaugurated. I mean, this is a time of chaos where the U.S. government is holding up in the executive mansion, the War Department, the Treasury Department, and in Congress with guns and railroad iron and flour and food, just in case the Confederates sacked the Capitol. Eventually, all these Union troops, 300, 600, 5,000, 10,000, 30,000, U.S. soldiers, basically one of the largest armies in the world at the time, gather in Washington, D.C. The Confederates are gathering sort of opposite Washington, D.C. in this area, Centerville, Manassas, okay? We are about 30 miles south and west-southwest of Washington, D.C. Eventually, all these armies are there. No American had commanded this many soldiers in battle, but a lot of these enlistments are starting to end. The Union Army is composed of a lot of 90-day troops. They must be used. Irvin McDowell was put in command of the Union Army, and like every other Union general that's here and Confederate general, he hadn't commanded thousands of troops in battle. He hadn't commanded hundreds of troops in battle, but yet the pressure is. You might be green, but they are green too, and you are going to go out, you're going to win the first major battle of the Civil War, and you're going to end this whole Confederate thing. Confederates think the same thing, of course. The Southerners have PGT Beauregard over here in this area in command, and another command that's trying to join them, racing to join them under Joseph Eggleston Johnston from the Shenandoah Valley, and he is going to outrank Beauregard when he actually arrives, okay? So you've got these two big forces, and the Union comes up with a pretty good plan, okay? They know where the Confederates are, and they realize that the Confederates along Bull Run, and let me orient you now while I'm at it here. You're looking at this map right here. We are standing right here at the Stone Bridge. Washington, D.C. is 30 miles in that direction, roughly, okay? This is Bull Run. You see it here. There are a bunch of fords over Bull Run. You've heard of some of them. Blackburn's Ford, Mitchell's Ford, Ball's Ford, and others that the Confederates are guarding. And the Stone Bridge is a good crossing, and it is the last of the defended points along Bull Run for the Confederates. They're not guarding the Farm Ford or Sudley Ford further upstream there, okay? So the Union eventually realizes that and says that the Confederates are vulnerable on their left flank over here. The plan for the day, of course, is going to be to take a bunch of Union soldiers and push them toward these other fords and the Stone Bridge while marching 17,000 Union soldiers in two divisions under Hunter and Heintzelman up around the Confederate, cross at Sudley Ford, and get into the Confederate rear, okay? And that'll sort of set up the battle there. The Union takes days to move this mighty force out of Washington, D.C. and out to Centerville. Centerville is about 5 or 6 or 7 miles from here. I didn't check my Google Maps before I came out here. But they're going to take a long time to move there. At the beginning of the war, 4 miles in a day. Oh man, that's a good march. They've got livestock with them. They've got everything they could carry. It's like you. Before you actually learned how to travel, you pack everything in the world, and then you get better at it. You pack less. So with the soldiers. So they take forever to get to Centerville, eventually come up with this plan. There's going to be a sharp fight about, 10 miles away from here, but it could take you an hour to get there at Blackburn's Ford, where fighting Dick Richardson, who is going to have just over a year to live, because after the fighting at the Battle of Antietam, where he'll be mortally wounded, will put up a stiff fight, along with others, against people like James Longstreet and some of the other Confederates who will rise to prominence there. That's July 18th. By July 21st, the Union wants to put their plan into action. They are going to march Tyler's division. These divisions might be 8,000 soldiers or so up along and the Warrenton Turnpike, and they're going to make a sort of a demonstration. They've got a huge gun called Long Tom, a 30-pound cannon. That means the barrel is 8,000 pounds alone. Going uphill was just absolutely terrible and backbreaking. Going downhill was absolutely treacherous, trying to slow the thing. Men and horses, 10 horses, could barely move the thing, but it will be brought into position to open the battle, scoring a direct hit on the next house across Bull Run called the Van Pelt House, okay? In the meantime, the Union finally comes up behind the Confederates here. Tyler's division coming up the road in the distance from Washington. The next two divisions come up behind it, turn off, and begin their long, circuitous flank march, which was going to be 8 miles. It turns out it's more like 12 or 14. They hadn't scouted everything properly, and that flank march, the Union flank march to get into the Confederate rear, will be spotted by a Confederate signalman. I think you've heard of him. His name is E. Porter Alexander. This dude seemed to be everywhere and doing everything in the war, east and west. And Porter Alexander sees bayonets and cannons glinting in the sunlight. It's proving to be a hot day on July 21st, 1861, as the Union Army marches in that direction. He sends word to the Confederate commander here. The Confederate commander here is Nathan Shanks Evans, okay? Shanks because he has spindly, thin, little scrawny legs, just like your speaker today, okay? And Shanks Evans is here. Oh my God, am I supposed to lift him up? He is here with a force, maybe he's got 1,000 soldiers or something like that. Shanks Evans is a character near the bottom of his class at West Point, kind of thought to be crazy, but that's just what the Confederates need this day. It is said that he has a staff officer carrying a barrelita of whiskey around just to satisfy him. He spread rumors into the Union camps through the Confederates that the bridge was wired to be blown. The Confederates thinking the Union might not actually cross here, and they're going to be right, actually, for some time here. The Union coming up with Sherman's brigade. William Tecumseh Sherman fighting in the east, commanding Wisconsin and other soldiers here. On this side of the pike, a guy named Robert Schenck on the other side of the pike coming in while there's some artillery fighting going on here. And Nathan Shanks Evans is holding his cards close, not really showing which South Carolina and Louisiana troops he has, how many of them. He's going to hold it tight till he gets that message from Alexander. Watch out for your left, you are turned. Evans has less than 1,000 soldiers. He's going to leave something like 100 or 200 here at the bridge, facing 7,000 Union soldiers or more, while sending his 700 or 800 soldiers over to try to get and block the Union advance over there, okay? That Union advance is going to come across at Sudley Ford and then a smaller ford called Sudley Springs Ford, 2 different water courses, and it's trying to come into the Confederate rear. Other things that are happening, you've got 2 more Union brigades, Sherman I already mentioned, as well as a guy named Erasmus Keyes or Keyes is going to go upstream and find this farm ford that they didn't even know about, and they're going to cross too. Things are not looking good for the Confederates, okay? They're going to try to put up a delaying action on a hill in the Union path called Matthews Hill. We're going to talk about that as well, okay? You're with the American Battlefield Trust. Garry Adelman here. That's Andy Pulton behind the camera, and I just want to tie up a couple of other things because 2 more big things happen at this bridge. And let's go a little closer, Andy, so we can actually see the famous stone bridge here. I think you may have caught glimpses of it already. You see the modern road in the distance, but you also see the much more older structure right over here that you're getting a view of one of the 2 arches there, okay? We have some historic pictures that I'll show you in just a second here, but first, let me just say that during the Battle of Bull Run, and I'm so sorry to spoil the end, but I think you know what's going to happen. And by the way, first Battle of Bull Run, Battle of First Bull Run, First Battle of Manassas, Battle of First Manassas, and there's like 4 different ways you can say it as well. This is called the Manassas National Battlefield Park, however, so you can call it Battle of Manassas or Bull Run. The latter is probably a more popular usage, at least if you ask Google. Now, during the battle, things aren't going to go well for the Union. We'll talk about that at several stops today on the anniversary here. And, you know, the Union will end up retreating mostly whence they came. But some of the Union troops will retreat back across the Stone Bridge, long cleared of Confederate resistance here, okay? And it's a pretty orderly retreat, okay? It doesn't turn into the route we all know it is until a wagon gets overturned at the next big bridge, Cub Run Bridge. And it blocks the, path of all the Union. They're going to lose most of their artillery. This is when some of the civilians with picnic baskets get caught up. They're all 4 or 5 miles away. They're not on the battlefield itself, okay? And then the final thing I like to talk about, because it's one of my favorite sort of things of the Civil War, is when Civil War soldiers, people of the past, give us something to grasp the past a little bit better. So This is E.P. Alexander, who not only helped to spy the Union movement here, but he quoted in March of 1862, several months after the battle, when the Confederates were camped around here and the Union was going to come back and the Confederates were going to leave, he said, "I was directed to blow up the old stone bridge, an arch of about 20 feet. When all had crossed and Major Duffy and I mined the abutments and loaded them, and the Major remained and fired the mines at the proper time. I've always wanted to revisit the spot, which was quite a pretty one in these days, but I've never had the chance, though I went across Sudley Ford only 2 or 3 miles off in September of 1862. That's, right after the Battle of Second Manassas. I'll probably never see it again." And here's my favorite part. "But if any of my kids or my kids' kids travel the Warrenton Turnpike across Bull Run, they may imagine Major Duffy and myself on a raft underneath the bridge, mining holes in the abutments and loading them with 500 pounds of gunpowder, fixing fuses and on hanging planks to blow up both sides simultaneously." Oh my God, I love this. Here this guy who was at Bull Run in the 1861 and then 62 went back and wrote in like the 1890s and early 1900s to help us in 2021 to picture what the scene here would have looked like in March of 1862. Yeah, that's when the historian gets excited, although it doesn't take that much to get me excited. So you could actually picture what it's like. With that, let's walk a little bit closer. Andy, I'm gonna tie things up here while you get a view of Bull Run and the bridge. Thank you so much for watching. We've got lots more videos to come, and thank you so much for supporting battlefield preservation and education. All right, I forgot to show the pictures I promised to show. Plus, let's show the bridge a little bit. So consider this a little addendum here. And let's show this one first here, okay? The Warrenton Turnpike was important to everybody coming around this area, and the photographers too. And it's not surprising they took numerous pictures of the stone bridge. There's at least 2 or 3 pictures of the ruined stone bridge. Again, there were no Union photographs taken on the battlefield, known to have been taken until March of 1862. The bridge was later repaired and used for many decades until the 1920s, when the louder and larger road was built. Here, they took pictures looking at the bridge from both sides. One I think that Andy's focusing on looks upstream, and the one below it also looks downstream. So you can actually look, upstream is north in this case, as is usually the case, but with the valley not too far away, you never know. Now, this was later rebuilt, like I said, in use, but then they built the new road. When they built the new road, the United Daughters of the Confederacy put a monument in the middle of the bridge here, okay? And as memorialization always changes over the years, that's 1940. After the National Park Service came in, they opted instead to put a cannon, a sort of a replica of Long Tom, the type of cannon that was opened the battle here, and of the type of gun the Union would actually lose during the Battle of Bull Run or the First Battle of Manassas. Now, we're really gonna close.